Okay, hello, and good morning. Uh-oh. All right. Technology. Okay, I think I'm ready now. How is everybody this morning? Good. Yeah, it's Monday. It is Monday. Does anybody have any questions for me before we start? Anything I can help you with?
In the book when I was reading about bathing, and it said something about use a little bit of soap on women, but it never said that for men. So you use soap obviously on both of them.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And remember, we go over skills in class, and if there's ever a discrepancy, I think I covered this on Wednesday, but I'm not sure. If there's ever a discrepancy between what your textbook says for skills and what I say, always go by me, because I'm specific to the testing process here. Okay. So yeah, you will see some discrepancies in there. I know that they do the opening in the book completely different than we do. The steps of greeting the patient and washing your, pulling the curtain, washing your hands. It's done in a different order. Don't go by the book, go by me. Good. Any other questions?
No, I see the difference because I read in the book and I read right here. Sometimes right here I found all the answers right here, how I went. So it's the way I got in my
Yeah, the textbook is a good general overview, but it's not specific to our testing product. So I use it for basically all the chapters but 6 and 7. 6 and 7 we do here, but I don't talk a whole lot about dementia. You need to learn about that. I don't talk about the life stages. You need to learn about that. You know, we don't talk much about Maslow's hierarchy. You need to learn about that. So the information in the textbook is relevant, but when it comes to skills, always listen to what I'm saying, not the book.
On our cards.
The flashcards, yes, the flashcards tell you the steps, but that's, again, that's from me.
Right.
The cards were made by me according to this program. So everything that we produce, the banners on the back, the white book, everything that I say here, the flashcards, the card game, all of those things all go together. And that's the information that you need to focus on. Good. Any other questions? Okay, so let me get your scores. This is going to be for chapters 5 and 6. 5 is on dementia. 6 is starting skills. 7, which you'll have tonight, is another skills chapter. Same thing applies. Read the paragraphs in between the skills. So, Bryn, how did you do?
Chapter 5, I got none, and chapter 6, I got 3.
Thank you. Nadia,
I missed one of them.
thank you. Do you have 4 for me as well? Thank you. Lauren, thank you. Irasima, thank you. Joanna, thank you. Rosina,
I got 5 and 0 on 6.
thank you.
0.
Oh, good. Thank you. Good job. Demonte, thank you. Mariah, Caitlin,
I'm a 0 on chapter 5, and I missed 1 on chapter 6.
thank you. Joni, Gabrielle, okay, very good. Erica, Amy, thank you. All right, those of you who missed some of the questions, do you need me to go over them with you? Do you know why the right answer is the right answer?
So number 8 on chapter 6, I guess I didn't understand it. An unconscious patient. Why are we doing oral care?
Because unconscious patients generally breathe through their mouth. And when you have somebody that's breathing through their mouth, those membranes are going to get all dried out. So oral care helps remoisten those membranes and prevents cracking of the tissues.
But they won't choke.
We're not pouring water in their mouth. It's just a moist swab, basically. Yeah. And it's actually, I know it's a little bit counterintuitive because, why are we putting liquid in the mouth of somebody who's unconscious? We're not putting a lot of liquid in. It's just moist. And some places use these things called lemon glycerin swabs. So it's not actually water we're using. It's thicker. So it has less chance of, going down into the lungs because it's a thicker viscosity. And it tends to stay in place longer because it's more of a, think of it more of a lotion consistency. So it tends to stay in place longer. They flavor them lemon. They're supposed to be, decent tasting. Not so much, but they're unconscious. So they're, not really aware of, we don't think they're aware of, we don't know. We don't know. When somebody's unconscious, we actually have no real idea of how much they're taking in. So some people that are unconscious have woken up and told us they heard everything that was said around them. Some people have woken up and said that they felt what was being done to them. So we don't really know when somebody is unconscious what they're experiencing. So I say that they shouldn't taste it, but they might. I don't know. Still better than having cotton mouth.
So is it about right when it says like when you have an unconscious patient, you do their mouth care every 2 hours?
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
They use a lot the little things. It's like the things used for the ear, but a bit more bigger.
Right. Yes, it looks like a Q-tip.
Yeah.
Yes, it does, but bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger.
Like that size.
Right.
I saw because the nurses they have all the time in the room
Mhm.
for the patients. usually uses for the patient to stay like unconscious, like stay like that. And they have a lot, respirators or something like that.
Mhm.
And they doing you say that, like every 2 hours.
Right. Particularly when the patient's on oxygen. Oxygen dries out the membranes horribly. And if we don't do something to remoisten those areas, we can end up with all kinds of bad things. Cracking of the skin is just one thing. A dry mouth will actually speed up decay of the tooth. It can lead to gum problems. It can, in the right conditions, contribute to a thrush situation, or oral candidiasis is what that's called. So there's a lot of reasons why we would want, and then just comfort, general comfort, right? There's a lot of reasons why we'd want to keep those oral membranes moist. But oxygen is a horrible thing to dry out those membranes. So a good example of this is, anybody have like a little desk fan at home, something that blows air at you? You go stand in front of it, open your mouth, and just stand there for 5 minutes. That's pretty much what oxygen does, because it's a flow of air going through the nose in most cases, sometimes through a mask over the mouth, but usually through the nose. Your nose connects to your mouth at the very back. So when that airflow goes in, it actually dries out all of those oral membranes. It also dries out the nose too. So sometimes we'll use different things to keep those the nose area moist. Good. Questions? No?
You explain very good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. Any questions on what we went over in class on Wednesday? Wednesday was a long time ago. It was. We're now over half done with the class. We only have 3 classes left after today. That's it. So it's going very, very quickly, very fast. If you're behind on your reading, or, any of the things that we're doing, this is the time to try to get caught up this week, because next week will be a little bit hectic. Good.
Before you move on, I'll go back to something. I mean, I own the seizures, and it says the time when you get documenting, like, I mean, if somebody's having a seizure, like,
Just look up at the clock.
okay.
Yeah, you don't have to have a stopwatch. You're not going to go run and get a timing device. Just if you happen, there is a clock in every room. Every room has a clock. Most of us have one on our wrist or in our pocket, with a cell phone. Just look at oh, I gotta turn my phone off. Sorry, guys. Just look at the clock and see, because there's a big difference in somebody who had seizure activity for 10 seconds and somebody who's had seizure activity for 10 minutes. There's a big difference between those two in terms of the possible consequences. So if I come onto the scene and you can tell me, yeah, this patient had visible seizure activity for about 10 seconds, I know what I'm working with. If you say they've had seizure activity for 10 minutes and it's still ongoing, I have to treat that completely differently. So it's a general time frame. We're not looking for you to grab a stopwatch and hit it, to see. And a lot of times you won't even know how long it happened before you showed up, right? You could be walking in, they're already in a seizure. And so all you can do is time the visible part you see. Yeah, they were seizing when I came in. Since I've been in here, it's been 20 seconds, roughly. Does that make sense? There is a huge time, a huge treatment difference based on time. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Protect them from injury. That's a big thing, to the extent you can, but don't hold them down. Don't try to block their tongue. Don't, just try to protect them from injury wherever possible. right? If they're, banging their head, because of seizures, put something soft under it. Grab a towel, a pillow, blanket, something, and so that we can help prevent further injury. A lot of people, when they come out of a seizure, they're very disoriented, confused, don't really know where they are or what's happening. That's very, very common. Their brain literally just short-circuited. So it takes a while to reboot. Okay, think about a computer that suddenly goes down. And when it reboots, it takes a little bit of time. And then you got all these windows that pop open, right? So this is kind of the same thing in the brain. It takes some time to reboot. And then the patient's going to get like little flashes and try to figure out, okay, where am I? What's going on? What happened? Be reassuring. It's okay. You just had a little seizure. I got a nurse coming. Just lay right here for a second so we can find out if you're injured. Be very calm. They're going to take their cues from you. Good. Any other questions? All right. Okay, so let's talk about what we've learned so far. So we're going to do some review.
Window.
Oh, I'm not in the window. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's better. Make sure my mic is working here. Testing 1, 2. Yeah, that's working. Okay. All right. Well, while I'm up, let's review what we've learned so far. We perform the skill as directed on the, we follow the care plan, the whole care plan, and nothing but the care plan. And what are we going to observe for? Abnormalities, changes, or pain. And who do we report that to? The nurse. Okay. So every skill starts with an opening. What does every opening start with? A knock. Sure. What do we have to know about the patient? Their name. So we're going to identify them by name. What are we going to tell them about us? Name and title. Very good. What are we going to describe to them? Yeah, not the weather, not lunch, right? We're there to tell them what we're going to do. And the reason we have to tell them what we're going to do is because we need to obtain permission. That's right. Once we get permission, we're going to close the curtain. And then what do we do after we touch that curtain? Wash our hands every time. Absolutely. Now that we have clean hands, we can get our clean supplies. So when we're getting clean supplies, what do we need to put on the table? A barrier. So it provides a clean area for clean supplies. We're only going to touch supplies with clean hands. We don't let supplies touch our uniform. And when do we get that barrier? Before we get our supplies. We always start with the barrier, get it first, right? Now, we're going to evaluate glove use for every skill we do. Every single skill has us thinking about gloves. It doesn't mean we're going to use gloves for every skill, but we have to think about it for every skill, right? So there's 3 rules we have to think about when it comes to deciding if we need gloves. The first is if we're going to touch any body fluids, right? Second one is personal skin. And the third one is non-intact skin. Good? Good. Okay. The first thing your gloves should touch is the patient. Very good. And you have to pay attention to what your clean or dirty. Dirty gloves have touched, right? So that we don't cross-contaminate. And then we want to remove those dirty gloves correctly. Sometimes we're going to need a privacy blanket for our patients. How do we know when we need a privacy blanket? Anytime they're uncovered or undressed. But that's not the only consideration here. Why do we use privacy blankets? It's not just for privacy. So it provides warmth as well. Keep that in mind. Remember that it's not just privacy that we're concerned about. It's also comfort. When we put the blanket on, do we take the sheet completely off the bed first and then put the blanket on? No, because that keeps the patient uncovered at some point. So we put the blanket over the sheet and then pull it down underneath, right? What shouldn't we do to the blanket? Snap it or shake it, sure. And if we're going to use a privacy blanket, do we remove it before we take our gloves off or after we take our gloves off at the end of the skill? After. Why? Because that sheet goes right up next to their face and we don't want to touch it with our dirty hands or dirty gloves. Good? Make sense? Okay. Linen rules. What can't linens touch? Your uniform. And this is an overlap to barrier, right? So we've heard that before. A couple of these principles you'll actually see on a couple of different banners because they're that important. You have to have what kind of hands to get your linens? Clean hands. What are we not going to do to linens? Snap or shake. Again, these are all repeats and they're repeated because they're checkpoints. Okay. You don't want clean rolls toward you, dirty rolls away. Don't let your clean or dirty linens touch the floor. And unused items must be discarded. Correct. Very good. Good job. Now we have scoot and roll. What are you not going to have in all settings? They're on the bed. Side rails, that's right. And even if you have them, you may not be legally allowed to use them because side rails are considered a restraint. That's right. So you're not going to have side rails in all settings. So if we have the patient scoot, which way before we turn them? Toward us, and then we're going to roll them away from us, right? That keeps the patient in the middle of the bed at all times. That's where the patient always has to be. Now, which side of the bed are you going to be on?
The side behind.
Right. So we always roll them away from us. So we're on the side that they're rolled away from. The easy way to remember that is we remain behind the patient's behind. Okay. What can't we put in basins? Why? Right, because we have to have water for rinsing. Absolutely. So no soap in the basins. What are we going to use to turn the faucet on? Yeah. Can't we use our clean hands?
No.
Okay. What temperature should the water be? Warm. But just because I think it's warm, does my patient necessarily going to agree? What do they need to do? Check the water as well. And by the way, if the water gets cold or soapy, change it out. Like in a really long skill, if you're taking a long time and that water is getting cold, change it out. Don't use cold water on a patient. That's uncomfortable, right? We always have to think about the patient in all of this. We're going to talk about the leaves method in just a little bit. Whatever we wash, whatever we rinse, we dry. And what we're not going to get the surface wet. Correct. What do we have to do with lotion before we put it on? What are we going to do after we put it on? Wipe it off. Okay. All basins are cleaned the same way. The shorthand version here is that we rinse it, dry it, and store it. That's it. No disinfection required for the test, right? But where are you going to put whatever's in the basin? Where are you going to put it? Right. So wherever it would normally go. Yeah, it depends. If it's stuff that would normally go in the toilet, where are you going to put it? If it's stuff that would normally go in a sink, where are you going to put it? In the sink. So you're going to dispose of the water or the fluids wherever they normally go, right? There's something going around YouTube that I think is kind of cute. People are challenging me on my videos. Well, my instructor said that anything below the waist goes in the toilet. And that's fine. If you want to think about it that way, you can, but foot care, right? That's below the waist. That's just bathing. And bathing water doesn't need to go. Do you guys take all of your bath water and put it in the toilet? No, bathing water doesn't need to go in the toilet. Now, urine does. Well, it just makes sense, right? But that whole anything below the waist needs to go in the toilet thing doesn't really work for me because it's not really accurate, right? It's bathing water. Pericare, which we're going to be learning, pericare is cleaning below the waist, but we never put dirty washcloths back in the basin. So the water's still just water. Again, that can go in the sink. So some of these rules that are out there, while they sound okay, in the very beginning, when you look at them a little bit closer, they may not be truly accurate. So the easiest way is put it wherever it normally goes. If it's bathing, it goes in the sink. If it's toileting, it goes in the toilet. Good. Okay. We're going to rinse that water or that basin with running water, and then we're going to set it down in the sink. Why do we need to set it down? Because if we have to disinfect, we can't be holding it while we disinfect it. That's why we're setting it down. Then we're going to pick it up with paper towels because we're assuming it's been disinfected, right? So we're just going to use that same process, whether it's just been rinsed or disinfected. When you go to put it away, though, can you touch that drawer? What do you need? Paper towel. Sure. And then we have shoe rules, though. Oh, I forgot shoe rules. Oh, that's because we haven't got shoes. Okay. All right. So the closing, every skill ends the same way. We have to make sure the environment is clean. Where should the bed be? Lowest position. What are we going to ask them? Are you comfortable? And we're going to add in, do you want a magazine? Is that emotional comfort thing, right? The head of the bed is up to the patient. So you can offer, if the head of the bed is up, it can stay up. If the head of it is down, it can stay down. That's a comfort thing at the end of the skill, unless indicated on the care plan. There are some medications that we give patients that they have to sit up for 45 minutes after taking the medication. So in that case, we wouldn't want to put the head of the bed down, right? So we have to watch that care plan. Once we, I'm sorry, and you're going to open the curtain. Once you've done all of that, though, you got patient cooties all over you. What do you want to do? Yeah, clean your hands. Are you going back to the patient after you clean your hands? No, because if you do, you're re-cootying up and you're going to have to go wash your hands again. So after we've washed our hands, then if necessary, we can document. Once you document, what are you going to do? Wash your hands again. Very good. All right. So now let's get into the skills that we've learned. We started with mouth care. Remember, we learned mouth care because you're comfortable with brushing teeth. It should be a pretty easy skill. We're going to kind of put some of these principles to play here. So what position does the patient need to be in for mouth care? Yeah, fully upright. And then we want to keep toothpaste from getting on their clothing. So we'll protect that clothing. You're just going to brush all surfaces and tongue. What do you do with the toothbrush before you apply the toothpaste? Wet it. Absolutely. You're going to allow the patient to rinse and spit as often as they need to. And remember, the more toothpaste you use, the more they have to rinse. And then when we leave the patient, what condition do they need to be in? Clean and dry. Yep. Don't leave water dripping off of their chin. And that happens a lot during the test. We also learned about dressing residents. So what do we want to ask them? Yeah, what do you want to wear? Clothing choice, clothing preference. Do we get clothes before or after we undress them? Before we undress them. That minimizes the time they're undressed. We have to lift from below. That's right. Never lift from above. And what do we want to do for all joints? Support them. Yep. So USA first means, okay, undress strong arm first, dress weak arm first. We don't want to overextend or force movement. Remember, we don't want to break anything. This mannequin has steel cables running through her. Steel cables. That's what holds her together, allows movement. She was a testing mannequin when we were a testing center, which means that people came in and did skills on her, and she was the mannequin for that. So let me show you something. What did I say she had running through her? Steel cable. Steel cables. Is that a normal position for a foot?
No.
Okay. Somebody overextended this and broke the steel cable running through her. And that's why her foot does this now. If you break a steel cable, you think that you might injure a patient? So do you think you would actually pass the test? So don't overextend or force movement. That was a huge red flag to me. I mean, can you imagine that person working on your grandma? Ouch. We're going, once we get the clothes on, we want to make sure that they're lined up properly and adjust them for appearance, right? Make sure that everything looks good. What are you going to put in the hamper? Everything dirty. And we have to put the call light in which hand? The stronger hand.
Forgot what it means. What does it mean to lift from below?
So when we're lifting extremities, right? Any extremity, if I lift it this way, my fingertips are going to dig in and cause bruising, but the weight of the leg might be too heavy and it'll slip out and it can fall. So when we lift from below, we always lift with a flat palm supporting at the joints. Okay. All right. So pulse. If we're going to take a pulse, we have to make sure what is supported. Arm is supported. We always report pulse values over what period of time? 1 minute. That's right. We may not have to count for 1 minute. If the care plan tells us to, we will, but they're always reported over a minute. So if you're only counting for 15 seconds, don't report that number. You need to multiply that by 4 to get your minute reading. Okay. What is normal? 60 to 100. What do we want to use to get a pulse? Do we use the flat part of our fingers? Fingertips, because they're more sensitive. What can't we use to take a pulse? Our thumb, correct. And where is a radial pulse located? Yeah, on the tops of the thumb side of the wrist near the bone. For testing purposes, what do we need to let the evaluator know? Yeah, we have to let them know when we start counting and when we stop counting. Why? Yeah, absolutely. Because they're counting too. And you want them to start at the same time and stop at the same time. And then in Florida, how many evaluators do we have to count for? Yeah, that's horrible. And what do you need to do for this particular skill at the end? We counted something. What do we have to do with it? Document it. Very good. Hand and nail care. We are going to, again, support that wrist and arm at all times. You're starting to get a sense here of everything has to be supported, right? We lift from below. Everything needs to be supported at all times. That has shown up now on 3 different banners. Dressing a resident, pulse, and now hand and nail care. Supporting the extremity is super important. What are we going to soak in water here? Yeah, it's in the title, hand and nail care. We'll soak the hand in water. And then we're going to wash. What do we do after we wash? What do we do after we rinse?
Right.
We dry. Where does the hand need to be put to clean under the nails and file it? On a towel, correct. What are we going to use to clean under the nails? Which edge, the pointed edge or the beveled one? Beveled edge. And we want to make sure that, what do we do with the orange stick in between nails? Yeah, we want to clean it off. Absolutely. We want to use the emery board to file in one direction toward the center. And then we apply lotion last. How do you apply lotion? Warm it up, put it on, and then wipe off the excess. Make an occupied bed. Where does patient need to be? In the middle. For this skill, they're going to be on their side in the middle. So what rolls toward me? What rolls away? Dirty. Remain behind the patient's behind. What do we need to try to remove from the sheet? Yeah, wrinkles and creases. Very good. And we're going to make sure we make those hospital corners to keep the edges off the floor. We want to loosen the sheet over the, over the toes. And we replace the pillowcase with the opening facing away from the door. Respirations. They're always reported over 1 full minute. What is normal? 12 to 20. And who do you not tell that we're counting? Okay. So we don't want the patient to know we're counting their breathing. Why?
It'll make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, it will. They'll change your breathing. You're not going to get an accurate reading. So again, we're going to say start when we start counting, stop when we stop counting. So the evaluators start and stop when we do. And what counts as 1 full cycle? In only, out only, in and out? In and out counts as 1 full cycle. Yeah. What do you have to do at the end of this skill? Document. Wow, we learned a lot, didn't we?
So when we're counting the aspirations, we will have something to put on their thumb.
There's going to be an alcohol pad right there on the bedside table. You can put right on their tummy. Yeah. Perfectly allowed to be used for the test. You can even use it in a clinical setting. It's not a problem. If I've got a really shallow breather, like a really teeny tiny person that's really, really hard to see, I'll put an alcohol pad on their tummy because it does make it much more visible to see their respirations. So side lying position, we're going to scoot them toward us first, right? Furthest arm goes up, closest arm crosses the chest, closest knee. Yep, and furthest knee is angled out. Yeah, angled out. So when you do that, then it's really easy to turn them because they're already half on their side. So then a hand on the hip, a hand on the shoulder, and just roll them very gently to the side that you need to put them on. How do we know which side to put them on? The care plan, absolutely. We're going to put a pillow behind where? Their back in a roll. Where does the next pillow go? Between their legs, specifically between the knees and ankles. The pillow goes under their upper arm. And then what pillow do we have to adjust? The one under their head. And where does the call light go? Yeah, that, or the hand that you turned them toward, right? The hand that you've turned them on their left side, their left hand. Okay. Foot care, just like hand and nail care, a little bit lower. So we're going to support the foot when we move it. We're going to wash whatever rinse we dry. What don't we put between the toes? No lotion between the toes. What do we want to be doing while we're doing foot care, though? It's not really about the cleaning. What are we supposed to do while we're there? Yeah, look, absolutely. Where don't you want to put bare feet? Yeah, pretty much anywhere, but specifically on the floor. And when we're all done, we're going to put the patient's own what goes on a foot? Sock, and we want to remove wrinkles or creases. And then we put the shoe on over the sock. Assist with bedpan. You guys see how much you've learned already? Right? So this patient has requested a bedpan. What do we put on the bed first? What do we put on the chucks? The bedpan. But now you've got butt juice gloves. So what do you need to do? Remove them. Yep. And then we're going to do something with the head of the bed. What are we doing with the head of the bed? Yeah. What do we need to give them before we leave? Call light. They got to let us know when they're done. And toilet paper. Yeah. Remember, it says they can wipe themselves. They need an opportunity to do so. Right. When they call us, we're going to go in and put the head of the bed back down. And then what are we going to put on before we get that bedpan? Gloves. We're going to get the whole bedpan and chucks at the same time. Where do we take it? Can we just carry the open container of urine through a room? So what do you need to do with that chucks before you start walking? Yep, flip it over and cover it. Absolutely. When you get to the bathroom, we're going to empty that bedpan that has pretend urine in it. Where does it go? So you rinse the bedpan. Where do you put the rinse water? In the toilet as well. When you're all done with that, you've stored your bedpan and done all that kind of stuff that we already know how to do. What do you need to give the patient since they wipe themselves? A hand wipe. That's right. Does this skill require a privacy blanket? Patients uncovered, undressed? Yeah, it does. All right. Is everybody good? Look how much you've learned. All right, let's move on to perform passive range of motion to elbow and wrist. It's on page 55. How do we know what to do with each patient? Care plan. This is the easiest skill on the state exam by far. The easiest, the shortest. Oh, thank you, Joni. I'll write that down. Okay. So this care plan tells us to provide the following range of motion exercise to the resident's right elbow and right wrist. Flexion extension. One exercise. We're going to do it to the elbow. We're going to do it to the wrist. And if you remember, flexion extension means up, down. So the elbow, flexion extension, up, down. The wrist, flexion extension, up, down. That's it. Put an opening in front of it, put a closing behind it, and that's the entire skill. How many repetitions do I need to do? Why? Care plan says, yep. So we need to make sure that we're on the correct extremity, that we're doing the correct exercises for the correct repetitions here. There's not a lot to grade. This is there's very, very, very few checkpoints on this one. So if you are on the wrong side, that's going to count big, right? Because there's not a lot of checkpoints here. Does that make sense? So this is a ridiculously easy skill. Ridiculously easy. But if you remember the range of motion actions that we've learned is that, oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. The range of motion actions that we have learned is up, down. There we go. Up, down is flexion extension. Side to side is abduction, adduction, and around is rotation. Right? And all of that is on page 51 and 52. What do we do if the patient says, ow? Yeah, don't go to the ow. Go below the ow and then go find a nurse and say, hey, I finished range of motion, but I got to here and got ow. And let the nurse figure out what to do about it. Not our job. So key points here, we're always going to lift from below. Boy, have we heard that a few times today. Right? We're going to return to start. We're going to support at 2 joints. And by the way, you can let the bed support one of them if you want to. That's okay, as long as it's supported. And we want to monitor for pain. So here are our important points for this skill. We want to lift extremities from below with a flat palm, 2 points of support near the joints. We're going to move slowly and smoothly. We'll return all the way to the start position. Flexion extension is up, down. Abduction, adduction is side to side, and rotation is around. All right, let me have a volunteer over in that bed and I'll show you this skill. Thank you. You can just lay down in the middle of the bed for me. You can leave your shoes on, it's fine. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's fine. You can leave it on. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you? Great. I need to do some exercises on your right elbow and wrist. Is that okay? I'm going to close your curtain. Let me go wash my hands, get my supplies. I'll be right back. I have clean hands. All right, Miss Jones, I'm going to do all the work. All you have to do is let me know if there's any pain or discomfort as we do this, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is stretch your arm out, palm up, and we're going to bend your arm up like you're making a muscle and then back down to the bed, okay? So we're going to go up and all the way back down. That's 1, okay? Up, all the way back down. Any pain? 1 more. Up, all the way back down. Good? Okay. Now we're going to move on to the wrist. We're going to go up and down like you're revving a motorcycle. So loose fist, forward and back. You should feel a little stretch. Feel okay? Forward and back. That's 2. Still good? 1 more. And great job. All right. If you have any pain or have any needs, let me get you to lift your head up for me a little bit. There we go. If you need anything, here's your call light. Just hit the red button to let me know that you need me. Can I get you anything before I go? Are you comfortable? Would you like a magazine before I go? Environment is clean. Open the curtain. Wash my hands. Think about the steps of my skill. Make any corrections. My skill is done. That is the quickest skill we have. That's it. It's all the opening and the closing. Like 99% of the skill is the opening and the closing. Thank you. And if you look at the checklist for that, this checklist, if you look at this one, range of motion, elbow and wrist, you'll see that there's only, I think, 3 checkpoints that have to do with the actual skill. Everything else is the opening and the closing. All right, let me talk to you about page 54 real quick. This can be summed up in practice, practice, practice. You got to practice, because sitting over there and watching isn't really going to give you the skill set that you need. Like, I can watch Fast and Furious all day long, That doesn't mean that I have the ability to drive a car at 180 miles an hour on city streets, right? Right? Same thing here. You can sit over there and watch me all day long. You can watch the videos all day long. That does not mean you have the skill set to pass the state exam. So make sure that you're practicing. If you're not practicing here, make sure you're practicing somewhere. But you do have this room available to you until 4 p.m. And even a month after you graduate, you can come back from 1:30 till 4 and practice. So make friends, work together to form study groups and come in and practice. You can also practice at home on any live humans that you have laying around, right? This is a great skill to be able to practice on somebody at home. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need any supplies. You can just practice this. Mouth care, you can practice at home. I guarantee you probably have a toothbrush laying around somewhere and some toothpaste, right? Dressing a resident, you can practice that at home too. Most of the skills that we learn, you can practice at home. Now, there are some that do require some special supplies, like ambulate with a gait belt. You probably don't have a gait belt at home. Or bedpan. You probably don't have a bedpan at home, right? They're dentures. You probably don't have dentures at home. So there are some skills that you probably don't have what you need to be able to practice. We do have a practice kit where you can buy, all of those things are in the practice kit, including dentures, believe it or not. Yeah. So, well, we have one kit with dentures, one kit without, but anyway, but it has the gait belt, it has the bedpan, it has the toothbrush, denture brush, it has everything you need to practice. But you need to be practicing. If you come in here, it's all free. Or it's all here for you to use. But if you can't come in here and you're practicing at home, make sure that you are practicing. Now let's go over to page 56 for a minute. I told you on day one I was going to come back to this topic and talk to you about it, and here we are. So when you go take the state exam, they are going to give you one of these. Everybody remember what this is? The care plan set lists the 3 skills that you're going to do on the state exam. You're going to be told to do these 3 skills in the order listed. Somebody else is going to play the patient for you to do these 3 skills. But they're not going to tell you, okay, skill number 1, you have 5 minutes to do. Skill number 2, you have 4 minutes to do. Skill number 3, you've got 11 minutes. They don't do that. What they do is give you a total amount of time to get everything done in. And I want to explain to you the formula that they use for this. Okay. So can you give me a number 1 to 11? 7. Okay. So the computer randomly picks skill set 7 for you guys. And we're going to do this together as an activity. So here are the skills that you're going to do for skill set 7. Feed a resident who's in a chair, provide hand and nail care, and ambulate the resident using the gait belt. So we're going to figure out how much time somebody would have to do this skill set together. So if you look on page 56, in the middle of the first column, you'll see a little chart there that tells you how much time they allow for each skill. Everybody see that? Okay, look on that chart and tell me how much time you would have to feed a resident in a chair. 9 minutes. How much time would you have to provide hand and nail care? 11 minutes. And how much time would you have to ambulate with a gait belt? Okay, so if you add those up, 9 plus 11 plus 5, anybody do that math? 25 minutes, right? But it doesn't stop there. They don't say, okay, you've got 25 minutes to do these skill sets. They're going to give you an additional 3 minutes for hand washing. They just give that to you. So hand washing, the time for hand washing does not count against your skill time. So 25 plus 3 is 28. But wait, there's more. They're going to give you another 5 minutes for what they call transition time. I call it thinking time. So from the time you say, okay, I'm ready to start, until you end your third skill, they're giving you 5 minutes in there to think about your skill, to make any corrections, to think about the skill you're about to do, and remember your supply. It's thinking time, guys. So you have a total of 9 for the first skill, 11 for the second skill, 5 for the third skill, 3 for hand washing, and 5 for transition time. And if you add all of that up, you end up with 33 minutes. So when they give you this skill set, they're going to say, here's your skill set. I'm going to read it to you. You have to do these 3 skills in order, and you have 33 minutes to complete this skill set. That doesn't mean that you have to take all 33 minutes. You can get it done in 25. That's fine. No problem. But the next question is, well, wait a minute. What if I go over? Okay, I can go under. That's okay. But what if I go over? Well, 5 minutes before this time is up. So at 28 minutes, they're going to tell you 5-minute warning. So you, in that 5 minutes, want to get as many of these checkpoints checked off as possible. And remember, the majority of the checkpoints are the opening and the closing. So go on sonic speed, man. Speed yourself up. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Get as many checkpoints in as you can. If you time out, it's not an automatic failure. It's whatever you didn't get a check mark on counts as a deficiency. That's it. Okay, good. Make sense? Do you understand skill timing? All right, so let's move on to page 68. How do we know what to do with each patient? So this care plan tells us a resident with dentures is sitting at an overbed table with their dentures in a denture cup. Let's stop there for just 1 second. Are there dentures in their mouth? Where are they? In a cup. So that means patient took them out all by themselves. Are you going to be reaching in somebody's mouth for the test and trying to pull teeth out? No, because the care plan says the dentures are right. Got it? But this is an important concept, guys. CNAs do not take dentures out. You do not put dentures in. Period. Let me say that one more time. CNAs do not take dentures out, and you do not put dentures in. If the patient cannot do this themselves, we don't help them with their dentures. We puree their food. And that's because if I have dentures in, and I'm going to take dentures off of my lower jaw, right? And they're me, my mouth, my hands, my dentures. If I'm going to get the dentures off the lower jaw, because they're held in place by paste, or sometimes they clip on little posts, it takes a significant amount of pressure to break that seal. So if I put my fingers back, way back in my cheeks, back to the back corner, and pop that denture up to take it out, I'm never going to put enough pressure on my lower jaw to dislocate it, because it's the right angle. Got it? But if I put my hands in somebody else's mouth all the way to the back to the corners, and I have to lift up, the only way to lift up is through leverage. These knuckles have to press down in order for my fingertips to lift up. If my knuckles are pressing down, I run the risk of dislocating the patient's jaw. You guys see how that might happen? And because it's not your mouth, you are likely to put too much pressure, downward force on it. Good. We don't take dentures out, not our job. You also don't put dentures in because in order to get dentures to seat properly, you have to bite down. If you got your hands in somebody's mouth and they're unconsciously biting down, your fingers are in the way. What's going to happen? You're going to get bit. Not on purpose. They don't mean to. But the chances of you getting bit are actually pretty high. So CNAs don't take dentures out. CNAs don't put dentures in. Patient does that themselves. We will clean them. No problem. I can clean dentures all day long. But we have to know our limitations there. Good? Okay. It says the resident's denture needs to be brushed with toothpaste and the resident needs mouth care. So let's stop there for a second. There's two different ways to clean dentures. One is to treat them like your teeth. Get some toothpaste on a wet toothbrush, scrub a dub, rinse, just like you would with your teeth. But that's not the preferred way that we deal with most dentures, because dentures are not like real teeth. They don't regrow. And toothpaste is very abrasive. It has hard particles in there to clean. So abrasive toothpaste on dentures can cause little micro cracks to form. And that's warm, dark, moist. What's going to grow there? Yeah. So not all dentures can be cleaned with toothpaste. A lot of them, we put them in a denture cup, put the 2 little fizzy tablets in there, let it fizz up overnight, and then we use a soft brush to clean off any particles the next day. No toothpaste. How do we know which method to use for which patient? The care plan. Are you saying you don't have to invent anything here? All you got to do is follow the care plan. This care plan tells us to use toothpaste and a brush. Okay, we can do that. We're going to brush the dentures over the sink. We're going to use cool water only, not hot water. Hot water makes the proteins stickier and harder to remove. We don't want to do that. Cool water. But because we have slippery dentures with water and toothpaste over a hard sink surface, what happens if we drop them by accident? They're likely to break. So we got to do something to prevent that. We want to put a washcloth in the bottom of the sink. And if we can get that washcloth over the drain, that's even better because that lets the water pool up. And then if the dentures drop, they're going to hit the water and then slowly sink down, less likely to break. Good. We don't want the dentures to come into contact with the sink or the water. You just the running water is fine, but we don't we're not going to put them in there to soak or anything, right? Because that sink may not be necessarily clean. So we want to keep the dentures in our hands, but if they fall, we have to protect them. Questions on that? Once we're done cleaning the dentures, we're going to rinse the cup out, get some clean water, and put them in the clean water in the cup. Dentures always need to be stored in water. Otherwise, they dry out, they become brittle, and they break. Good. So our care plan goes on to tell us the denture is stored in a denture cup after cleaning. The resident is not able to provide their own mouth or denture care. It's not a hard skill. Kind of an icky one if you don't like dentures. Some of you will have a problem with this just because dentures, but it's not a hard skill. Man, you would brush your teeth a whole lot better if you could take them out of your mouth and actually see what you were doing. You really would. You get all those little nooks and crannies. But because our teeth are stuck in our head, we kind of have to go at it blind. Well, with dentures, we actually get to see what we're doing. And that means you probably should be doing a better job getting all surfaces covered. Good.
So during the test, are you explaining that you're getting cool water? Or
You don't have to. They're actually going to watch to see, which faucet. Yeah. Trust me, these evaluators, there is no detail that they miss. If it says cool water, they're watching to see if you touch that hot water tap. Yeah, they're very, very observant. Good. But they're not going to check the water. Okay. All right, so we don't touch dentures without gloves. That just kind of makes sense, right? But we can touch denture cups without gloves. That's fine. I don't want to touch the dentures themselves without gloves. All right. So your patient is sitting in a chair at an overbed table. Their dentures are out of their mouth and in a denture cup. And they need you to go take this over there and clean them. And then they need you to clean their mouth. We do have to clean the mouth the dentures came out of because that paste is going to hold food particles there. So just because we're cleaning the dentures doesn't negate the need for mouth care. You can do mouth care with a toothbrush. It's okay. The problem is that your patient's sitting over here. They're not at the sink. Denture paste is stringy, gummy, and sticky. When you use a toothbrush to brush the gums, I mean, it's okay to do, but that denture paste is going to get all tangled up in those bristles. And then it's going to be really, really hard to get that denture brush clean or that toothbrush clean because you're not at a sink. Does that make sense? So even though you could use a toothbrush, there's a better way, and that's called a toothette. It looks like a lollipop, but it doesn't taste like one. This is a soft, spongy, solid surface. So I can wet this just like a toothbrush, put a little toothpaste on it, just like a toothbrush. But because it's a solid surface, I can swipe that denture paste away and then turn it. Now I've got a clean surface to work on. I can swipe the denture paste away and then turn it. I got a new surface to work with. So it's a better option than bristles. Does that make sense? Good. So when we're cleaning the mouth the dentures came out of, we usually use a toothette. This is also called an oral swab. You'll hear it called both things. Toothette is probably the most common. Okay. So this is what we're going to use to clean the mouth. And for the test, your patient is going to have teeth in their mouth because all of you come with teeth, right? You might be a patient for this. So we don't expect you to bring your own dentures. You don't need to go get dentures, before the test. You're going to come however you are, which means that whoever is doing mouth care is going to use this and clean whatever's in your mouth. Now that's because dentures come in a lot of different varieties. So we don't touch dentures without gloves. I'm going to put gloves on to show you this. This is probably what most people think of when we talk about dentures, right? This is a full plate. This is a top denture. I know that because it has a palate, the part that sticks up against the roof of the mouth, right? So this is a top plate, but this is a full plate. All of the teeth have been replaced. we don't always pull teeth that are still healthy. Bless you. If the patient needs all of their teeth replaced, they would get a top plate or a full plate. But sometimes what we need instead is a partial. That means that you see where all those holes are? Those are the patient's natural teeth that remain. So we didn't pull teeth that were still healthy. We just replaced the teeth that needed to be replaced. Does that make sense? So you have full plates, which replace all of the teeth, and then you have partials that replace some of the teeth. This is a bottom plate. This is a top plate. See how this one has the palate and this one doesn't? There's always a cutout for the tongue on the bottom. Good. Now, there is another type of denture, and that is a bridge. What you see there on the bottom. The bridge is a very small piece of a denture. Sometimes these are permanently implanted, so they don't come out. Sometimes they do. Bridges can be done in one of, a couple of different ways. But bridges are just little piece. So imagine this, right? But just a little piece of it. All of them are cleaned the same way, but you do need to be aware that there are differences in dentures. Good. Okay. So there's two ways to clean dentures. One is toothpaste and a brush. The other is the fizzy tablet. Which way do we use?
That's about the care plan.
That's it. Depends upon the care plan. Good answer. Remember I said on day one, there's an easy answer for almost every question in the class, right? So I had an instructor that emailed me. Let me put this back here real quick and clean that up. I had an instructor that emailed me, and she said that she downloaded the ebook. Remember I told you guys about the ebook, right? For the written test. She downloaded it. She had her students download it. And she said it was unbelievably helpful for both her teaching and the students learning. And it really led her to focus on the care plan, right? To make that the center part of her program. Well, her students just tested. She had 100% pass rate. What I'm teaching you guys works. So when I know that I say the care plan about a bazillion times in these 4 weeks, and I know that by now you're like rolling your eyes. Yes, I know the care plan, it can't be overstated. The care plan truly is the key to not just passing the test, but to performing well in a clinical setting. If you're answering questions, if you're deciding things, you're not in your scope of practice. And that puts you at risk. Good. Okay. All right, so here are our rules for denture care. We're going to lay a washcloth in the sink. We're going to use cool water. After we are done, we're going to store those dentures in cool water in the cup. And I want to put a paper towel or something under the cup just because I don't want to leave a ring on the table. Right, we're going to put them on the overbed or the bedside table. For mouth care, patient has to be sitting fully upright. Well, we know that for mouth care. We're going to protect their clothing. We're going to brush all surfaces and the tongue. We're going to wet all brushes before applying toothpaste. We'll allow the patient to rinse and spit, and we're going to leave the patient's face and clothing dry. It's mouth care. So this skill is mouth care with an extra step. You already know half of this skill. Good. I am going to show you the video for this one because it does have good close-ups of cleaning the dentures, which you would not get if I'm demonstrating it live. Oops. Go back here.
Hello,
Hi, Mr. Jones. My name is Patty. I'm with CNA today. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Wonderful. I need to do denture care on you. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm gonna take your symptoms to the sink. I'm gonna close the privacy curtain and wash my hands. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Jones. I'm gonna place the barrier on the table, so we have a clean area to place between supplies. And then I'll gather the supplies that I need. We'll need a cup of water, a toothpick, a denture brush, toothpaste, a basin, a washcloth and a towel, and to be touched cloth. Okay, we're gonna get the denture brush ready for use, so I'll wet it. And apply a little bit of toothpaste, both sides. We'll allow the basin to hold that denture brush until we're ready to use it. I'll be right back, Mr. Jones. I'm going to go clean your denture.
Okay.
The denture brush has to have somewhere clean to sit while we're getting everything ready. You don't just want to lay it on the edge of the sink. The edge of the sink is not necessarily. Okay, Mr. Jones, I'm just gonna set your dentures over here, so that you have this, you can meet them later.
Okay.
I'll place the denture brush on the barrier and now we'll remove these gloves. I'll throw those in. Do you mind if I place a towel over your chest? Of course. So help keep your clothing clean. Gonna prepare for the mouth care portion of this skill. We'll take the toothpick and wet it. Apply a little bit of toothpaste. One area of the toothpick. And apply gloves. Okay, Mr. Jones, I'm gonna brush all surfaces of your teeth now. So in a moment, I'll need you to open your mouth wide so that I can reach the back teeth.
Okay.
Okay, can you open your mouth? Thank you. I'm gonna brush the back on the bottom. And on the top. Both sides. Okay, can you bring your teeth together, please? Thank you very much. We're gonna
throw the tooth out away. And would you like to rinse? Good. Would you like another rinse? Another rinse? Okay. I'm gonna remove your towel and we'll place this in dirty linen. We'll throw away the disposables. And now I'm going to clean your basin. I'll be right back. Okay. Place the denture brush and the toothpaste in the basin and open the drawer with the paper towel. Store the basin in another spot. I'll remove the barrier from the table. And we'll throw this away as well. Now I can remove my gloves. Mr. Jones, are you comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get you a magazine?
No,
Is there anything else that you need?
no.
Your call light's right there. If you should need anything, just let me know. I'm going to open your curtain and go wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll think about the steps to my skill, make any corrections, and then tell the evaluator my skill is done. Hey, any questions? Any questions on that one? No? You can put the basin on the side of the sink, but you can't put the denture brush on the side of the sink. The basin's just there to hold the denture brush.
Question, just for dental care and oral care overall, what do you do if there's, I mean, I know there's the difference between an unconscious patient and then a patient who is conscious, but what about a conscious patient who has like maybe, like is at risk for aspirating easily and things like that, or like doesn't have a lot of like mouth control because of maybe a stroke or something?
You would want to go by your care plan. Okay. And I can't give you specifics because each one of those is gonna be handled a little bit differently.
Okay.
Some patients I would use an oral swab, it's lightly moistened, just to kind of get some of the film off the teeth. Other patients, I might use a toothbrush with a very little bit of toothpaste. You know, it really depends on the unique situation of each patient. And even like stroke patients, you may have 16 stroke patients and they all require something a little bit different. Great question.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Oh, just, like the different levels between, obviously, an unconscious patient who, like, can be at risk for aspiration, but also conscious patients that might be at the same risk because of points.
So like somebody who has a stroke, you know, and is at risk for aspiration, what would you do then? And the answer is consult the care plan. Because I can give you an answer, but it may not be the right answer for that patient. So that's what the nurse is there to do, is to figure out the right answer for that specific patient. And like I said, you can have 16 stroke patients and they've all had stroke and they all have right-sided weakness, but they all are going to have different accommodations. So that's what that care plan is there to help. Good questions?
This is the way you always say, follow the care plan.
Follow the care plan, yeah,
Whatever happens, so always follow the care plan.
yeah. Now, I wish I could tell you that every nurse out there is writing good care plans. You may not have good care plans for every patient. Just go back to the nurse and ask, hey, it doesn't specify, what am I supposed to do here? I follow the care plan. Your care plan needs help. So, you know, you may have to work with your nurses a little bit to dial in that information. All right, let's go ahead and take our break, come back from the quarter till. Thank you.
It's a lot of little things. Usually it's more easy for you guys because the English is your first language.
Yeah.
The problem for me is my English is basic. It's not complete. So, but so many things that usually I understand more when practice, when I do the thing, because I saw all the things usually. Like she say, oh, you give a exercise for the patient, like motion or something like that. I saw all the things like that. How you doing in the leg? You're not taking the leg like that. No, go cut it like that. Oh, no. Just take it under the right here and doing, whatever. Okay. Or actually right here. So many people doing like counting three every time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So many things like that. I can do it.
Yeah, you've seen it before.
When I see everything, so it's locate the pores. Okay, very fast. I found them already. So the other thing is how you connect the catheter to the patient's with the different catheters.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of little things. What I like about this, most of the things is kind of repetition. So you catch on,
so
you catch on after.
the basic thing is the opening and close. You don't know nothing about the opening, you don't know nothing about everything. Because the first thing is explain the scale.
Yeah.
So not to identify the patient, identify yourself, and explain. No, ask you for the permission and explain about the scale. It's the basic thing. So you don't know how's the thing force or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't know nothing. For real. You try to practice with somebody right now.
Yo te voy a practicar. Es que en la casa no sé con quién practicar. Porque mi hermano y mi hermano trabajan.
Pues llámame y ya practicamos juntas.
Y yo voy a ir. Are you gonna stay Wednesday? Like afternoon?
What, just to practice, I'm free.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm free. I'm not today, but I am Wednesday, so.
Yeah, I need to study more.
Yeah,
I have work and everything.
I know, it's the problem.
We're
We don't stay in just focusing in this thing. I have million things to do. So
Did you fill out the application?
Not yet.
I don't think I'm gonna fill it out until I feel like I'm
You ready?
completely ready.
She said that it takes like 3 weeks after you
Yeah.
graduate.
Usually you need to take a little bit more practice. You gotta
La cosa que es que te haga aprender esos skills así, porque ya lo otro es como de alguna
You could go and she'll show you how to sign. Yeah, she has a video on. It's on the paperwork.
Okay, maybe that's something for me.
Yeah. I gotta watch that. Cause she said you could either fill it out and mail it. Instead of doing it on. You gotta fill it out. But if you fill it out and mail it takes longer. Yeah, I wasn't gonna feel it out there. I felt more comfortable. It's not nice. Doing it. Then the house, you're gonna stay after too. I was looking for something to practice with. I hadn't planned on it, but if you would like to plan sometime to stay after, I can do that. Yeah, that would be great. I need to practice. I need somebody to practice with too, because I don't live there anymore, but even if it's like for 30 minutes, or I'm sure that would help. I didn't sit up today, but sure I can sit up on Wednesday. Yeah, everybody, well, mostly everyone that I talk to is about the same thing. They're mostly about Wednesday. Okay, okay. Yeah, that'll help me.
Like, even for half hour, for an hour again.
Yeah. And you've been watching other people do it too. It's what you do.
It's, when you have someone else, you can, people can catch on to when you miss this stuff.
Yeah, they,
That's the other thing too.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
sorry. Like even with the practice, right? What I feel like we should do as group, gonna save up for practice. If I miss a point, you told me. You know what, you're supposed to be doing this before that point. And that way, you're gonna pick up very fast. Or, you complain or you make a comment that, you miss a point,
Yeah,
go back.
yeah, yeah. And that's
And
good
go
to
back.
have, versus you just trying to do it by yourself, because there's nobody to correct.
Correct
Yeah.
you, exactly, and, so see where you skip, or the point that you skip, you didn't.
Right. And you get comfortable too. Being up there. But I know for testing, I probably would get nervous, if I didn't have any practice. And then you get nervous, you forget stuff.
Definitely, no, you need, that is a must, that you need to actually practice.
That's what she just said.
To rememberize, yeah.
And I'm visual too.
Yeah, I'm visual too. I learned visual. So,
So Wednesday.
yeah, when it's,
When, yeah, then something.
So even, I could plan staying after every class on Tuesday, Wednesdays now.
Yeah, it's only,
But she said, even after we finish, it's still.
still come.
yeah, and, next Monday, I could see that.
Okay.
That's it.
What's your name? Gabby, okay, Rosie.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
That's my whole name. Usually Gabriel and in Spanish is for me.
What's,
Gabriel with A. It's for one. And in English, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Like Ariel. Ariel is in America, it's only for women. And in Mexico, it's only for men.
I really like her teaching style because she is very,
very good at
Yes,
explaining
she
step by
is.
step,
Yes,
step
very
by step.
detailed, and it's
I
like,
was thinking I never got it happen. But I got it so much. Usually my husband speaks English. And then I ask him some questions because I talking to him all the time. And I know how he explained me. So that night I told him and say, oh, because I said I don't understand. I say, oh, I see. Oh, like that question right there and say, if the patient's like smoke and ask him go outside and smoke and he have a respirator or breathing thing. So what to do it? According to the care plan, we can force the patients to do a smoke. With other people. You can just say, no, this is bad for you, you can do that thing. So if they decide they want to stay there and they can smoking. And the some Smith said, depends if policy in the hospital. In the hospital I work, they say non-smoking. Anyway.
oh, really?
But
It's depending on the facility.
yeah, depends. But the patients say, no, I really want to smoke. And I say, okay, I give you patches, nicotine patches. And they scale. So they just go, oh, yeah, I got it. So they offer.
I don't, but I had a job doing.
Yeah, I don't want
that.
that really, play like that.
And I wanted to get the license.
Yeah, I got it, I was working, I do housekeeping.
Like, the hard work, you work very hard.
Something for you. And I always.
And I take care about her. I will always, but I want to get my license. I stopped so I could go to school. So I decided I want to do better. Maybe they say, I think about doing what they do. Yeah, because I'm the old stuff. You know, there are some things that will find you out. Not really trial and error, but learning.
I just need y'all say. So, it's a reference. Okay. But here's the reference. So like, we were just in the board, we say, oh. Long-term care, it's key. So I then, you see what you want. I got my question, my answers. They're not really great or cool. They're looking for the.
And those cards are well worth.
Yes,
So,
they're
going out there worth.
Yeah, but this girl right here, it's more smart altogether.
Everybody's different in their learning styles. so
I
you gotta
know.
do what works for you.
Yeah.
You
For
know,
me, it's too hard, usually, because
but
when,
you're doing pretty good.
yeah, but usually when the English translate in Spanish, there's a lot of kinds in Spanish. My Spanish is different to the her Spanish, the lady. He's Cuban and Mexican. So Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Salvador, Guatemala, all very different. Spain, Especially different. It's all very different. So depends how the English is translated. So they translate in Spain, Spanish. It's very bad for me. I say, what they mean? Or maybe they translate in Spanish. That's hard for me because she, her and me, are not speaking the same Spanish. That's the big problem. Usually you see I talking to her, the basic Spanish. But sometimes they use it on different words for so many different things. Right? I mean, you use it money. You use it money. The word is. The same word as the for her is money, for the water.
Oh. What is, like, do you know what like the root of the different translations? Like the root of like the two different word usages?
It's because it's a different country. It's kind of you are
pretty much like,
yeah.
they speak different than
Yeah.
that person. Colombia is and all that. It's tough. But
Usually Puerto Rican is close to her language.
Yeah.
they say that when we say
That's-
if they have a different.
Usually Mexicans don't speak in the same, all Mexicans. Depends on the dialect. I live in a little town and the big city. So the big city speaks different because it's close to the beach, they speak in close like Cuban. So, you know, they call it la costa, right? It's not close to the beaches. So the big problem with the Spanish. So usually, when you're speaking with somebody and speaking in Argentina,
I mean, I'm sure that it's similar to the fact, like, if you think about it, like different accents and when you speak English, you know, and like different phrases and words you might use for things like, I wouldn't understand half of what someone from like Scotland, because they use different like, shortened versions of a bunch of different words, and also their accents
Yeah,
are so different.
yeah, usually in medical things, you know,
Yeah.
they do just they use it short. So,
Yeah.
I've had it
Like
a
a-
little over a year.
like a big one and LDO, living daily.
Consistently.
For the ADLs.
LDO.
It's my
Living
favorite team.
daily.
Yeah, it's long word, just 3
Yeah.
letters.
Yeah.
So like like a pure CNA, it's just 3 letters. So all the things, so it's that way you confuse. Don't say like I do not want to speak you up. Porque the lady to a person. Yeah, you're confused because you say it with Latin. Latin is another language, close to the Spanish. This is for the more small group. Porque los americanos don't know nothing completely, don't work in the hospital, don't family with the things like that. Oh my God, they go needs. The first class say no, that's too for me. Oh, yeah, you have that, but when you don't know nothing about medicine or something.
Yeah, top and bottom.
You scare me, say no. That's not for me. I'm quitting.
Give me 1 second, Lauren, I'm gonna send those emails to you. Anybody else not getting our daily wrap up emails? I think that we know. Okay, good. Anybody is not getting them, no. Hey, Lauren, you should have the, invitation to the group now, to the online course, and, I'll send that other email. All right, so ambulate using a gait belt. It's on page 46 of your skills book. How do we know what to do with each patient? Care plan. So this care plan tells us to ambulate the resident at least 10 steps. How far are we walking them? Okay, guys, it's round trip. So 5 steps in one direction, 5 steps back. Right? This isn't about walking. I know that's what the care, the title says, ambulate, just fancy word for walk, ambulate a resident using a gait belt. What they're really grading you on here has everything to do with safety. So it's about body mechanics. It's about the proper application of the gait belt. It's about watching the patient as they're walking. So we don't need you to walk like a mile to learn if you know how to do this properly. 5 steps in one direction, 5 steps back is going to tell us what we need to know. Okay. Now for the test, they're probably going to give you a destination. They'll say, walk to the corner of the table and back, or walk to the bookcase and back, or walk to the wall and back. They'll give you a destination. And the reason that they do that is because they're going to put something in your way in that path. So if I tell somebody, okay, walk to the corner of the table and back, I would put this table in that pathway. Why do you think I'm doing that? What do you think they want you to do? What's that? Clear the path. That's right. That is correct. They want you to look to see if there's any obstacles before you ever lift that patient up, before you ever stand them. Because if you stand somebody up and you realize, okay, there's something in my way, and then you leave the patient to go take care of that, that's a safety issue. You guys see how that's why they usually give you a destination. Because if you get to pick your own destination, you'll probably pick a place that doesn't have an obstacle, right? So they're going to give you a destination. Your whole goal here is to look closely to make sure that there's no obstacles in the path before you walk the patient. When you're walking a patient, your total focus should be on them, the patient. This is, I don't know why, but CNAs get this wrong all the time. When you're walking a patient, patients don't do this. They don't just walk along, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, everything's great. Ugh. It doesn't work like that. Patients show you signs something is going very wrong in their life. They will slow down. They may get a little wobbly. They might put a hand up here to their head or one here to their stomach, or they may reach out to the wall for stability. They show you that things are going wrong. Your job is to notice that things are going wrong. And if you're not paying attention to the patient, you're going to miss all that. And that's when, oh, I don't know what happened. She was fine. And then she's on the floor. I don't know what happened. Well, what happened is you weren't looking at the patient. I've seen a lot of people in a clinical setting walking patients like this. Yeah, it's very easy for your patient to end up on the ground and you don't know what happened because you're not looking at the patient. So 90% of this skill is safety. How you lift the patient, the body mechanics you use, removing obstacles from in the way, making sure that your total attention is on the patient. All of that is what's being graded. When you're holding onto the gait belt, your patient should be right in front of you, slightly to one side. Don't walk behind somebody like this. This is awkward, right? They should be right here. You should be slightly beside or slightly behind and to one side. When you hold that gait belt, you want to hold it in an underhand grip. That way, if the patient starts to go down and you pull up, the gait belt won't slip out of your hand. If you're holding like this and the patient falls down, that gait belt will fall right out of your hand. So underhand grip. But this hand does more than that. Remember I said patients give you signs that something is wrong? One of those signs is instability, a little swaying, a little slowing. instability. Your hand will pick up on that if you pay attention to it. But the number one mistakes that CNAs make out there in a clinical setting is when the patient gets all wonky, they don't want the patient to fall, right? So what do you think they do? Try to catch them, pull them, hurry them back to their room, right? Safe space. If your patient isn't tolerating a slow walk, they're certainly not going to tolerate a hurry. What's going to happen? They're going to fall. So when we have patients that are showing signs that something is wrong, the best thing you can do is get them sitting on the floor. Because if they're sitting on the floor, they can't fall on the floor. And falls are when injuries happen. Does that make sense? So we don't want to catch them. We don't want them to fall. We want to catch it before they start to fall. And then if I've got the right stance, right? If I'm holding underhand on the gait belt, if I'm slightly behind into one side of the patient, right? So if my patient is right here where they should be, and I have an underhand grip and they start to get all wobbly, this leg goes right here, right in between their legs. I can then pull them back onto my body and use my body as a slide to get them right down onto the floor. And then I go find a nurse, or I send somebody to go find a nurse. Hey, nurse, I do normal. Patient sitting on the floor normal? No. So whose responsibility is that? Yeah, not my problem anymore. I got him in a safe spot. Your turn. Okay. Make sense? Okay. So if you see a written test question that says a patient that you're walking, you're ambulating with a patient with a gait belt, your patient gets pale, sweaty, starts to sway from side to side, and says they feel faint. What is an appropriate action? A, hurry them back to their room. B, leave and go get a wheelchair. C, put a gait belt on them. Or D, assist them safely to the floor. Safely to the floor. Yeah. Good. Without that lecture, you would have hurried them back to the room. It's what it's just kind of what we think. We want them in a safe. We want them safe. They're not going to make it. That's when your falls happen. Okay, good. Makes sense. All right. Let me explain to you what a gait belt. Oh, let me finish reading this. Sorry. Ambulate the resident at least 10 steps. Use a gait belt or transfer belt. Patient will be sitting in a chair at the side of the bed with shoes on. Patient is able to walk, but needs assistance to stand. So the gait belt is a flat canvas belt. It has a metal buckle and a free end, just like a regular belt does, but the buckle's a little different than the belts you may wear with outfits. So it doesn't matter whether the buckle faces this way or the buckle faces, nobody cares. No, nobody cares. What matters is the tag goes on the inside like every other article of clothing. Don't put it on this way, the buckle won't work. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether the buckle is this way or this way. What matters is the tag. Good. This is put around your patient's waist and it needs to be snug because we get skinnier when we stand up. Our torso elongates. So when we put this on somebody when they're sitting and then we help them to stand, it's automatically going to loosen up. The problem is if you have it too loose to begin with, when you go to lift that patient up, this belt, if it's not snug, is going to go up underneath the breasts or underneath the arms, or they'll just slide right out of it. So you've got to have it snug enough to stay put. Good. So when you put a gait belt on the patient, you want it flat, not twisted. So this is very important because twisting can actually cause bruising. So you want it flat. So you're going to put it around the patient's waist, not yours. I'm going to demonstrate on me. Okay, but this goes around the patient's waist. So when you put this around the waist, make sure that it's flat, right? No ring, no twists, nothing like that. It's flat. When you get it around the patient's waist, you're going to put the free end through the first guard by the alligator teeth. See those teeth? Those teeth are all pointing that direction. You guys see that? The points are all pointing that way. That tells you which way to pull this tail. The pointing that way, we're going to pull that way. If I pull this way, it's not going to tighten. I'm going to pull. And I need it snug. I only want to fit 4 fingers between the belt and the patient. So I'm actually going to check it with 4 fingers. If I can get 4 fingers plus, that's way too loose. So you want it snug, 4 fingers. Now, once you get it 4 fingers snug, you're going to take this in and put it through the second guard to lock it in place. Now, it's not going to, I can pull on this all day long. It is locked in place. It's not going to separate. If this tail is too long and hanging down, you can just simply tuck it up into the belt to get it out of your way. Okay. To remove a gate belt, you're going to reverse the process. We're going to bring it back through the second guard. And then if I pull it this way, it's just going to get tighter. And I can't pull it this way. It won't let me. So in order to remove a gate belt, you have to hold the buckle and slide it along the belt. So when you put it on, you slide the belt through the buckle. When you take it off, you slide the buckle along the belt. Good. Now, when you take this off, don't pull. Listen to this sound. Do you hear that sound? That is causing a burn against my skin because I'm dragging this canvas belt against the clothing, which is then frictioning my skin. So when we take a gate belt off, we either reach both of our hands around to grab it, or we loop it up and over the head, but we don't pull it against the skin. Good. Questions so far? So we need to make sure that the belt is flat, the tag side is in, it's snug enough around the waist. We can fit 4 fingers, no more, no less. When we take it off, we slide the buckle along the belt and we remove the belt so that it doesn't pull against the skin. Good. Now, let me talk to you about why we're doing this. So we're going to go back a page or 2, actually. Go back to page 43. Anybody ever see a 2-year-old? I love 2-year-olds. They are amazing creatures. Yes, terrible twos, but they're so adorable. How much energy does a 2-year-old have? Oh my gosh. Yeah, 2-year-olds have the maximum amount of energy that you have in your lifespan. You actually peak at 2. That is your maximum energy level throughout your lifespan. I'm going to prove it to you. But 2-year-olds, man, they will bounce up and down for no reason. No, they don't need a reason. They will just bounce, right? When was the last time you bounced up and down for no reason? Probably when you were 2. Yeah. Now, if I win the lottery tomorrow, I'm bouncing up and down, right? I got a reason, but just on a normal Monday, it ain't going to happen. Not going to happen. And that's because I don't have the energy for that. It wouldn't even cross my mind because I'm too busy trying to stay alive at this point, right? I need the energy for that. So what does that mean? Well, that means that our energy levels are super high early in life, and then they start to decline. So let's go out to 12, right? 12-year-olds still have tons of energy. Man, I wish I had that energy. If I could bottle it, I'd be a millionaire. But you put that 12-year-old in charge of that 2-year-old for one afternoon, who wins? 2-year-old all day long. That 12-year-old is saying, Mom, can you please put them down for a nap? I'm tired. I want to go play video games, right? So just in that time period from 2 to 12, we've lost energy. You guys see that? Now try to explain to that 2-year-old why you don't have the same energy they do. Do they get it? Ever? No, because they have no frame of reference. All they know is their energy levels, right? They have no idea that you don't have their energy levels. They've never had that experience before. They think everybody in the world has their energy levels because they do, right? So you can't get a 2-year-old to understand when you say you're tired. It just doesn't compute. It doesn't sink in, right? Remember that. We're going to come back to that in a minute. It doesn't compute. So we know 2-year-olds have tons of energy. 12, we've lost a little bit of energy. Let's go out to 22. Now, 22-year-olds still shop till they drop and go out at night looking fabulous, right? But you don't have the same energy level you had when you were 12. Your energy level has decreased in that time span. Let's go out to 42. 42-year-olds, they still shop till they drop, but that's at like 3 and we're not going out tonight, right? Our energy levels have dropped even further. Now go out to 62. At 62, we're thinking about retirement because there is not enough energy in the day to work all day and come home and take care of all the house stuff too, right? We're putting our feet up for 10 minutes before we make dinner because we are tired, right? We're thinking about retirement. That means our energy levels have dropped even further. Now, what do you think they're going to be like at 82? Yeah, very, very low. Now, do you remember when that 2-year-old tried to understand what your energy levels were like and they didn't get it because they had no frame of reference? When that 82-year-old tells you, I'm too tired to do this, your response is, well, it's fine. I'll do it for you. Don't worry about it. You have no understanding of their lack of energy. It's like a 2-year-old trying to understand yours. You don't have the frame of reference. You have nothing to compare it to. You think that that 82-year-old should have the same energy level you do. And this gets us into trouble all the time. Because a lot of times we'll tell a patient, hey, Mildred, it's shower day. Let's go get a shower. And Mildred says, oh, no, honey, I don't have the energy for that. And you and your little young brain thinks, what do you mean you don't have the energy? I'm doing all the work. All you have to do is sit there, right? I'll do the shower. All you got to do is sit there. What do you mean? No, you are trying to understand an 82-year-old energy problem with a 22-year-old brain. It's not going to compute. Do you guys understand that? When they say, I don't have the energy, believe them. They don't have the energy. It's real. If we start out with energy here and when we get to 82, we have energy here, that's a huge drop. But what do we care? I mean, old people, they have nothing to do and all day to do it. So what do they really need energy for anyway, right? Well, what do you need energy for? What are things that you do every day that you need energy for? Oh man, that takes half of my energy every day. I like my bed. Absolutely. Half of my energy is getting my butt out of bed. So once I get out of bed, what else do I need to do?
Take a shower.
Yeah. So first thing I'm going to do is hit the bathroom. It's a long night, right? So that takes energy. And then I'm probably going to get showered and brush my teeth and groom and, you know, all the things I have to do to make myself presentable. That all takes energy. And then I'm probably going to make myself something to eat. And that takes energy. And then I got to eat that something. And that takes energy. Have you ever been too tired to eat?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that tells you if you've ever been too tired to blank, that means that whatever's in that blank takes energy, right? So, man, there's a lot of stuff we do just to stay alive that takes energy. What about talking? Does talking take energy?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I've been too tired to talk. Usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, by the time I get home, I am talked out because I talk all this entire time, 4 hours. I'm talking nonstop, right? And then I work the rest of the day in the shop talking to customers nonstop. So by the time I get home, I'm like, quiet. I don't want to talk. I'm done, right? Thankfully, my husband understands and he lets me have some quiet time. But yes, you can be too tired to talk. You can also get too tired to breathe. If you have a respiratory condition that causes breathing to take a lot of energy, right? So all of these things that we need to do just to survive takes energy. So let's go back to Mildred. We went into Mildred's room and we said, hey, Mildred, it's time for a shower. You want a shower? And she says, oh, no, honey, it's no energy. I'm too tired for a shower today. And you force her and you get her into the shower and you get her undressed. And by the way, just you undressing her still takes energy from her. And you get her under the water and soap her up, but that still is taking energy from her. And then you get her all dried off and she's all shivering, and that creates a need for energy. And then you have to get her dressed, and that takes some of her energy. And then it's dinner time. And now she doesn't have the energy to eat. So she goes to bed without dinner. What is going to happen to her energy levels tomorrow? Yeah, they're going to go down. Do you see how this creates a negative feedback loop? So when Mildred says, oh, honey, I don't have the energy, believe her. Let's find another alternative. Maybe we can hit the high spots, right? The stinky bits. Just give them a quick once over. So it requires less energy from your patient. Or maybe a better option would be to schedule her high energy activities for when she has high energy. I am not a morning person at all. You try to get my brain and my body to do something taxing in the morning, and I'm like, I'm not your girl. No, it ain't gonna happen. But 4 o'clock, I start to come alive. That is my high energy time. So if I'm the patient, when should we be scheduling my showers? Yeah, when I have higher energy. Now, some of you guys are morning people. My husband is a morning person. I do not know how. That just confounds me. He likes to get up and watch the sun get up. I'm like, no, no, no. That's not good for me. That's weird to me. But he has higher energy levels in the morning. When would I be scheduling his personal care? Right? We're not one size fits all, guys. And we need to understand that. But we try to shove everybody into the same pigeonhole. We think everybody's just like us, and they're not. So we've got to take the time to listen to our patients and to try to schedule things when it's convenient for them. Good. And not all facilities are going to have this down. Some facilities don't care about any of this. They just put patients on a shower schedule and try to make the best of it. But if you notice these things, bring them to your nurse's attention. And maybe you've got a nurse that will listen. Does that make sense? But energy conservation is a very, very important topic when we're talking about elderly care, but not just elderly. Remember we talked about her on the very first day, right? She is a patient in a hospital and she's got something going wrong with her, whether it's an illness or an injury. And that means that her immune system is working overtime. You guys remember that, right? So what do you think that takes? Energy. That's right. So even though this patient might be in her 40s and perfectly capable of taking care of herself every day out there, but now that she's here and her body is using so much energy to fight off whatever it is that's got her here, we may have to help her out. So this isn't something that's just related to the elderly. It's related to anybody who has an illness or an injury or needs assistance. We have to learn how to conserve their energy so they can devote it to things that keep them alive. Good. Okay. Does that make sense? Everybody understand a little bit more about energy conservation? Okay. All right. So up until now, we talked a little bit about shoe rules. We touched on it very briefly when we talked about foot care and diabetes. And one of the things that we learned was when a patient's feet hit the floor, we talk about their shoes, and slipper socks are not enough. You guys remember that? So now we're going to talk about the rest of shoe rules. And this is our last principle to learn. So the rest of this has to do with ambulating patients and transferring patients and that type of thing. I already told you that we use 4 fingers to check gait belt tension, right? We need to be able to fit 4 fingers there. Once we get a gait belt on a patient and we know what direction we're walking them and we know that there's no obstacles in the path, and we're getting ready to assist that patient to stand using the gait belt. And by the way, if you need to help somebody stand up, you do need to use a gait belt. Some people try to shortcut this and not use gait belts, and they grab the patient by the back of the arms and just try to pull, right? So somebody would grab me by my arms and try to pull me up. Well, the problem is gravity. Most of my weight is down below my waist. So if you're holding my upper body and pulling it, all of this weight is going to trail behind, which means you're going to have to use more force, grip harder, and now I'm probably going to end up with bruising. I may even end up with muscle strain in my shoulders because of that torque. That's not a good option. We should never lift from the top part of a patient. You need to lift from their center of gravity. And again, some people don't want to go get that gait belt and put it on because, you know, it takes time or whatever. So they grab the patient's pants and lift them that way because they're lifting at the center of gravity. Anybody ever have a wedgie? Because this is a wedgie. It's not just a wedgie, it's a monster wedgie. And those patients they'll move fast. They will, but they're not moving fast because you're helping them. They're moving fast because you're hurting them. So never lift somebody by the arms and never lift somebody using their pants. You can actually injure somebody doing that. Does that make sense? That's why we have gait belts. So a gait belt is a belt we put over the patient's clothing. That's why we can put it, you know, patient to patient, because it's going no skin contact over their clothing. And we're going to use the gait belt to lift them to a standing position. Good. But before we do that, we want to make sure their feet are flat on the floor. Now, I am sitting in this chair. My feet are flat on the floor, right? This is a good position. Did you notice I'm not sitting at the back of the chair? Anybody know why? I'll give you a hint. I'm short. I'm very short. So when I sit in this chair with my back all the way against the back of it, you probably can't see it at home, my feet are not flat on the floor. What's going to happen if you try to stand me up from this position and I'm on my tiptoes? Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be stable in any universe. So before you lift me up, my feet need to be flat on the floor. I'm not going to get there in this position, so I'm going to have to scoot myself forward so I can get my feet flat on the floor before somebody lifts me. You have to look at that. That is a rule. Patients' feet need to be flat on the floor. And then before we lift, we're going to count to 3, because if they can help, we want them to help, right? I'm not just going to grab the gate and zoom, up we go. We want them to be involved. Remember, help is not help if it's not helping. Remember me saying that? Help is not help if it doesn't help. So we need to get their cooperation. We're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to lift. But when we lift, we want to lift from around the back of the gait belt, either the sides if they're larger or toward the back, because that's where most of the weight is. So we're going to grab that gait belt in an underhand grip. And on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we're going to use that gait belt to stand the patient up. And once we're standing, we want to wait a second. Let them acclimate. And then we're going to ask, are you dizzy? Are you weak? You feeling okay? Everything good? Can we walk? I want to know here. I don't want to wait until we're way over here and say, oh yeah, by the way, are you dizzy? Because if they say yes, what's my exit strategy? I don't have one. Right? Now I got a problem. So we don't wait until we're way over here to ask, are you dizzy? We stand them up, feet flat on the floor, hands under the gait belt, stand them up, and we wait a second. And then we ask, are you dizzy? Before we start walking. Once we're ready to start walking, I'm going to let my patient lead. They're the ones that need help, right? I'm not going to drag them along. I'm going to let them lead. But while they're leading, remember, I should be behind them and to one side. My hand should be on that gait belt. And where's my focus? On the patient, 100%. I need to be watching for any signs of instability. Good. Questions? Now, when you turn the patient around, we're going to help them sit down, right? You don't want to turn them around and just have them hope and pray that there's something behind them. If they don't know that there's a chair there, they're going to resist. And they'll do it subconsciously. They won't even realize they're doing it, but they're going to kind of stiffen up and do one of these things, right? Because they don't know that there's a chair there. So before you help them sit, you have them back up so they can feel that chair behind their legs. Then when you help them sit, they're sure that there's something there to catch them. Good. Guys, the sad statistics are that as many as 50% of the patients that we help in long-term care have been dropped. Think about that. How trusting would you be if you have been dropped in the past? I'm not going to trust anybody. So you need to make sure that they can feel that chair behind them. They don't trust you, and they shouldn't trust you. They should not trust you. They should trust the chair. Good. That is a testing checkpoint. Good. Questions? Okay. So now, I need to get to that camera real quick. You're good. You're good. Keep doing that. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you guys about body mechanics. All right, you guys can see that on the camera. You can see it in real life. If you look in the front of this chair, you see a line from the tiles. You guys see that line in front of the chairs? Do you see the line on either side of the chairs? So this chair is in a box. I could actually draw lines. You guys see the box that the chair is in? I'm going to use that box for body mechanics. Okay. Used to be years ago, when we were teaching healthcare workers how to lift patients, we would teach them to stand right in front of the patient and go toe to toe and knee to knee, so that when we lifted the patient up, their legs are supported. And that sounds like a really great idea, right? That way the legs don't slip out. They got some support. Sounds like a good idea, except that there's a physics principle here. Have you ever heard that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Everybody kind of remember that from ninth grade physics, kind of? Sound familiar? Okay, so what happens here? If I've got a 150-pound patient in this chair that I'm trying to help up, 150 pounds. When I stand toe to toe and knee to knee with that 150-pound patient and I reach around the back of them and I bring that weight up, that 150 pounds is coming this direction. That means that my back has to absorb 150 pounds of pressure. And that's a small patient. If I'm helping a 300-pound patient, how much pressure is my back having to compensate for? Guys, you will blow your backs out. The number one reason, occupational reason for CNAs to leave the industry is back injuries. My job is to try to prevent that from happening. So do not stand toe to toe, knee to knee. Because, right, because as you lift them forward, all of that pressure goes to your back. So instead of doing that, let's use the box. Okay. So if I'm sitting in this chair, you see the line in front of me and the line on each side. We're going to use that box as our guide. So in your brain, you always have to draw a box around your patient. Okay. We already talked about that. Okay. So when we have a patient that's sitting in the chair, we are going to stand at the corner of that box. One foot is going to go parallel, or I'm sorry, perpendicular across the front of their feet. The other foot goes parallel to the chair. So if I have a patient sitting here, this foot goes here to keep their feet from sliding out. This foot goes here. I am at the corner of that box. Do you see how that foot placement is the same as mine? And then I'm going to bend at the knees, not the back, because I want my legs to carry all the weight. So I'm going to bend at the knees, grab that gait belt, and on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we're going to stand up. And now I'm going to wait to see if they're dizzy. When you do that, your legs are now taking the weight, not your back. And your legs are way stronger than your back is. Good? Make sense? So this is a drawing that shows you the position you should be in when you're going to stand the patient. You have a patient sitting in the chair. The gait belt is around their waist. You're going to stand with one foot across their feet, one foot parallel to their body. You're going to bend at the knees. You're going to grab that gait belt around the side or the back. And on the count of 3, you're going to help the patient stand. And when they stand, you're going to let them stand for a couple seconds and then ask if they're dizzy. Good? Okay. So here are our checkpoints for ambulate with a gait belt. We're going to apply the gait belt while the patient is sitting. We're going to apply the gait belt around the patient's waist over their clothing. We're going to help them to stand by holding onto the gait belt around both sides or in the back. We're going to let the patient lead. We're going to walk slightly behind and to one side. And we're going to ask how they feel frequently. We'll assist the patient when they stand and when they sit. And we're not going to pull the gait belt off across the skin. So let me have a volunteer. Somebody come sit in this chair for me.
I do.
Sure. Okay. So my care plan tells me to walk 10 steps. The evaluator told me to walk to this table and back. I can see that there's an obstacle in my way that has to be addressed. So here we go. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you? Fantastic. Do you feel like going for a little walk? Yeah. Okay. Let me go close your curtain, wash my hands, get my supplies, and I'll be right back. I'm just going to move this obstacle out of our way. So I'm going to close the curtain, wash my hands. My gait belt is here. All right, Miss Jones, I see you have shoes on. Do they fit well? Good. I'm going to put this gait belt around your waist, and this is going to help us stand up and walk and then sit down, okay? All right. I'm just going to put this around your waist. We're going to put it through the first guard by the alligator teeth, and we're going to get it snug. I'm going to check to make sure I can fit 4 fingers. We'll put it back through the second guard. And then we can just tuck that tail out of the way. All right, can you bring your feet forward or together for me? And are your feet flat on the floor? Good. Okay, so you're going to put your hands on my shoulders. I'm going to help you stand, and then we're going to make sure you're not dizzy before we start walking, okay? So I'm going to put 1 foot in front, 1 foot beside. Put your hands up here. Bend at the knees. 1, 2, 3. We're going to stand up. Feel okay? Are you dizzy? You see how much skinnier she got?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys all saw that I checked that with 4 fingers. This is what I'm saying. If you don't get this tight enough, if this patient goes to fall later, it may not help her. Okay, so I'm actually going to tighten that up just a little bit because that's pretty loose. Okay, are you dizzy?
No.
Feel okay? Okay, I'm going to let you walk to that table at your pace.
Okay.
And when she walks, I'm going to hold the back of the gait belt underhanded. Feel okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead and turn around. And then we're going to walk back to the chair. I'm going to hold that gait belt. Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead and turn around and then back up so you can feel that chair behind you. Can you
Yes,
feel it?
yes.
Okay, you're going to put your hands back on my shoulders and I'm going to help you sit. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Very easy.
Okay, so I'm going to lift this. Remember, we don't pull it off against the skin. Are you comfortable? Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here? Okay, let me check your care plan to make sure you can have water. And your call light's over there. We'll pretend you can reach it, okay? This is going to be put back where I found it, back where in the storage unit. Open this up. Environment's clean. Wash my hands. My skill is done. Thank you. Questions? Questions?
I do with somebody else? No, nobody.
Everybody good? Okay. So last skill is provide a partial bed bath. This is on page 86 of your skills book. If you look at the bottom of the page, look at the time, 86.
19 minutes.
A long time. This is the longest skill that there is on the state exam. So if you get this one for the state test, you get 2 super short skills to go with it because they know it is the longest skill. It's not a hard skill. Do you remember hand and nail care? Do you remember foot care? We learned washing rules, right? We learned whatever we wash, whatever we rinse, we dry. We're not going to get the surface wet, so we need to protect the bed in this case with some towels. We put soap in the basin. No, it goes on the washcloth. We're not going to put soapy washcloths back in the basin because we don't want to get our water all soapy, right? So everybody remember the washing rules? We're going to use those to wash a body. Our care plan is going to tell us exactly what we need to wash. So if you look at the care plan at the top of the page, this is a very long care plan. It tells us to give the resident a partial bed bath and back rub. Now I'm going to stop there for a second. We are not massage therapists. We don't deep tissue anything, right? That's not what we do. We are simply doing a light back rub to promote circulation and comfort. Remember when you were a little kid and you didn't feel good, mommy came along and kind of rubbed your back a little bit, and it always made you feel a little bit better. That's what we're doing here. So very brief back rub to promote circulation and comfort. It tells us to wash exactly what they want us to wash. So this is important. We're going to wash the resident's face, neck, chest, abdomen, back, one arm and hand with soap and water. So I'm going to stop there for a second. If you look a little bit better or look a little bit lower, you'll see a little box. It says partial bed bath, face to waist, front and back. Face first, no soap. That sums all of that up. Face to waist, one arm and back. Good? Questions? It then tells us to provide a brief back rub with lotion, dress the resident in a hospital gown. Patient is lying on back and center of bed and can roll as directed, but is too weak to assist with bathing. Too weak to assist in bathing. So we're going to do it. So we have to learn the final new principle here, and that is use the leaves method for body openings. So I need to explain to you this new way of using a washcloth. Okay, I'm passing out washcloths. Those of you who are playing along at home, if you've got a washcloth handy, this is just a plain white square washcloth. Doesn't have to be white, but we all know what these are. You probably have some in a linen closet at home. If you take a washcloth and fold it in half and then fold it in half again, you get a small square, right? That's usually how we put them in the linen closet at home. But instead of looking at it like a square, I want you to look at it as a diamond. Like if you take a square and turn it a little bit, it becomes a diamond. And if you have that diamond with the free corners at the top, you want the free corners at the top. When you get it in the diamond position with the free corners at the top, you take your hand and put it right against your hand. Tuck one side corner in by your pinky, the other side corner in by your thumb. Got it? We're going to use this to clean. And when we do this, yep, good. And when we do this, if we use the top leaf to clean something, whatever that something is, and then we fold it over, it traps the contamination underneath and gives me a new cleaning surface. I can wipe something else and fold that over, giving me a new cleaning surface. I can wipe something else and fold that over, giving me a new cleaning surface. And I could even fold it over and use the backside to wipe something else. So this one washcloth gives me 5 independent cleaning surfaces without cross-contamination. Now we're going to use this anytime we are cleaning a wet body opening. So a wet body opening would be like the eyes. Do you guys remember the chain of infection we talked about? Right? The doorways out of the body and the doorways into the body. That's what this is. A wet body opening is a doorway. So eyes, nose, mouth, genitals, rectal area, wounds, rashes, sores, incisions. If I am going to wash around any of those things, I want to use the leaves method so I don't bring anything into the doorway and anything I pick up in the doorway doesn't get transferred somewhere else. Good? Make sense? Guys, if you've got kids, you'll use this more with kids than you do at work. This is awesome to know if you've got kids because it's really easy to get them cleaned up. Okay, good. Questions? So the way we do this, we hold it in our hands and we wipe whatever it is we need to wipe, and then we fold that over. That gives us leaf number 2. We wipe with leaf number 2, we fold that over. That gives us leaf number 3. We wipe with leaf number 3, we fold that over, and that gives us leaf number 4. And then we fold leaf number 4 over to give us the last leaf. Good? Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, this is pretty cool. All right, this is not a hard skill. You already know everything there is to know about this skill, but oh man, this skill, 19 minutes, and we follow the care plan. We do our opening. We're going to have to use a barrier and gloves because we're touching personal skin. Remember, face to waist, breast is involved. We need a privacy blanket because this patient is uncovered and undressed. We're going to use linen rules not to hold anything next to us. Don't put anything on the floor. Scoot and roll because we have to wash the back. Washing rules apply. Anything we wash, we also have to clean the basin. And we're going to do our closing as well. So out of all of those banners, the only one we're not worried about is shoe rules. Everything else is going to apply. So when you look at this checklist, you see that checklist is long. There are a lot of opportunities there to miss things, which is why I teach this after we've already seen all of these principles before. There's nothing new to learn other than holding that washcloth that weird way. That's it. The rest of it, you know how to do the opening. You know how to follow the care plan. You know how to use a barrier. You know how to put on gloves. You know how to use a privacy blanket. You know the linen rules. We went over them this morning again. You know to scoot a patient towards you before you roll them on their side. You know the washing rules. You know basin cleaning, and you know the closing. You know this skill. We just have to put it all together for you. Build the puzzle. Good? Questions? But there isn't a single thing in here other than the washcloth that I just showed you that will be new to you. Okay? Good. I'm going to show you this video because it has good close-ups. Now, if you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that this is going to be done on a mannequin. So you're going to treat the mannequin like she's a real person. You're going to talk to her. The evaluator will answer. The evaluator will play the voice of the mannequin for you. But you've got to treat her like she's real. So don't leave her exposed. Don't forget to dry her off and leave her with a wet torso. You know, treat her like she's a person. Okay? I'll show you this. Let me just pop that up a little bit. This is the one automation I don't have. Oops. There we go. And then after we watch this, the rest of the class today will be practice, because we're done with our skills today.
Jones, my name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you? Good. I need to do partial bed bath. Is that okay? I'm going to close your curtain. Let me wash my hands, get my supplies, and I'll be right back. For this skill, I'm going to need a barrier for the table. This will give me a clean place to put my clean supplies. For this skill, I will need 4 washcloths, 2 towels, a clean gown, and a privacy blanket. It's a washing skill, so I will also need a basin, soap, and lotion. And I'll need a set of gloves. Ms. Jones, let me go get some water. I'll be right back. Ms. Jones, is this water appropriate temperature? Okay. And now I'm going to spread the privacy blanket out over you. This will help keep you warm and protect your privacy while we do this skill. I'm going to spread the blanket without snapping or shaking the blanket. And I'm going to pull your sheet down to about your waist. Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you to sit forward for me in just a moment so I can untie your gown. And I'm going to spread this towel out underneath you to keep your sheets dry while we bathe you. Can I assist you to sit up, please? Thank you. I'm going to untie your gown and spread the towel out on the bed. Go ahead and lay back down, Ms. Jones. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to spread the towel out underneath the arm. I'll remove the gown on the side closest to me, supporting the elbow as I lift it. And I'm going to relocate the gown to the other side of the patient. This leaves the patient uncovered underneath the privacy blanket for bathing. The blanket will keep you warm. Now I can apply my gloves. I'll take the first washcloth and wring it out. And I'm going to use 4 corners. We'll wash the face first, no soap on the face. Ms. Jones, I'm going to wash your eyes. I'll start with the closest eye to me. I'm going to wash from the inner to outer corner. Very gently. And then we'll fold this sweep over to prevent contamination from spreading to the other eye. Ms. Jones, I'm going to wash your other eye now, inner to outer corner. We'll fold that leaf over, and then I'm going to wash the remainder of the face. Using very gentle strokes. And keeping control over the washcloth. We'll fold that leaf over and use the final washcloth for the nose. And then we'll set that aside. I'm going to take the towel and pat dry all areas of her face, making sure not to use too much force. We'll set the towel aside. We're going to take the second washcloth and wring it out. And we'll apply soap to the top leaf. You do not need to use the leaves method because all of her skin from this point is intact. We're going to wash behind the ear, under the chin, across the neck, the upper torso. We're going to lift the blanket to protect privacy, but keep the patient covered while we wash down to the abdomen and up the side. Now, for the exam, you are going to make sure the patient remains covered until the evaluators ask you to remove the blanket. At that point, you will just continue on. I am going to repeat these actions so that you can see what I have done. I'll remove the blanket for better visualization. Behind the ears, across the chin, the neck, the upper torso, around the breasts, down the abdomen, and up the side. Then we'll clean down the front of the arm, the hand, up the back of the arm, lifting at the elbow, and the armpit last. We'll set this washcloth aside because it has soap on it. We'll take the third washcloth in the basin and wring it out. And we're going to rinse all the areas that we just washed. So behind the ear, under the chin, across the neck, the upper torso, around the breasts, the abdomen, up the side, down the front of the arm, keeping the elbow supported on the bed. We'll rinse the hands, the back of the arm, and the armpit while supporting the arm. The rinse washcloth can go back in the basin for later use. Now we're going to dry all of those areas. So we're going to pat dry or use short, soft strokes, but nothing vigorous. Go ahead and return Ms. Jones. We'll set the towel aside. Now the patient has a clean torso, so we'll place the clean gown on her. Ms. Jones, can you reach your arm through here? I'll help you put your gown on. We'll lift the arm at the elbow, supporting it as we lift. And we'll spread the gown out. Okay, Ms. Jones, we're going to go around to the other side of the bed now, and we'll dress the other arm. Since the care plan said that we only needed to wash one arm, we do not need to cleanse this other arm. That's per the care plan, but we do need to dress it. So I'll remove the soiled gown and we're going to place this in dirty linen. And then I'll put the new gown on. Ms. Jones, can you reach through this armhole? Thank you. And go ahead and lift. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you to turn onto your left side now. This is going to allow me to wash your back and give you a brief back rub. So I'm going to ask you to scoot toward me and we're going to roll you onto your left side. Ready? Go ahead and scoot toward me. 1, 2, 3. Now the evaluator will hold the mannequin in place while you complete your cleaning. I'm going to take the third washcloth, wring it out, and we'll soak the top leaf. I'm going to wash the back of the neck, the shoulders, and the back down to the waist. We'll set that washcloth aside. We'll take the final washcloth and wring it out. And we're going to rinse all of those areas. The back of the neck, the shoulders, and the back down to the waist. And then finally, we'll dry all of those areas. Back of the neck, and the shoulders, the back down to the waist. Now our care plan asks us to give the patient a brief back rub. So we're going to use a little bit of lotion, making sure to warm the lotion in our hands before we give them a back rub. Ms. Jones, I'm going to give you a little back rub now. I'm going to start at the small of your back and work my way up in small circles to your shoulders. We'll do this 3 times. This is for circulation purposes. 1, 2, one more, and 3. I'm going to wipe off the excess lotion. Now I can tie the patients down. And remove the towel that's protecting the linens. Miss Jones, come on back onto your back, please. And scoot to the middle of the bed. Thank you. I do not want to touch that sheet that's going to go right up next to her face with soiled gloves, but I need my soiled gloves to take care of all of my dirty linens. Miss Jones, I'll be right back. These items are going to go into dirty linen. Now I'm going to go clean the basin. I'll empty the basin and rinse it. And then pick it up with a paper towel. I'll dry the inside with one paper towel. And throw it away. And then dry the outside with a paper towel. And throw that away. And I'll get one for the door. I'll collect the soap and the lotion, placing them in the basin. And return the basin to its storage. Paper towels can be thrown away. Barrier is going to be discarded. And now I can remove my gloves. Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm going to remove your privacy blanket now and pull your sheet back up. Are you comfortable? Good. We're going to roll the privacy blanket in a ball so that the trailing edges don't contaminate other surfaces. This will be placed in dirty linen. Okay, Ms. Jones, is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here, such as magazine? No? Okay, here's your call light. If you should need anything at all, please let me know. I'm going to open the privacy curtain and wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll think about the steps of my skill, make any corrections, and tell the evaluator my skill is done. So I told you that the state test is giving you 19 minutes to do that skill. If you look at the amount of time it took for that full video, it's less than 13. So you have plenty of time. Don't rush. I know it feels like just forever. It is a long skill. Okay, go in your book to page 89 for me. At the end of each section, when we get to the point that you've learned all of the skills in that section, you're going to see this section test. Basically, it's, because what we learned, hand and nail care was a long time ago. It's only a week, but it feels like a long time ago because you learned so much. So these section tests are there to help you kind of refresh and review the information from that section. And you're going to see that on your homework for tonight. You will get, you'll see that you're going to be reading chapter 7, but you'll see unit 1 and unit 4 tests as well. So I don't collect these grades. This is for your knowledge, but we've completed unit 1 and unit 4 now. There's no more skills in those 2 units to learn. So it's a way for you to kind of do a self-check to make sure that you got the information. Okay. I'm going to print off your review sheets for today and hand those out. And then the rest of the class is practice. So you've got almost an hour of practice time today. Anybody that needs to take a break can. If you need to step out for a few minutes, that's fine. You don't have to stay for practice time. I prefer that you do,
because you do need to be practicing. So if you're not staying, make sure you're practicing somewhere. And I will, in just a few minutes, shut off YouTube, when you guys are practicing, because they don't need to see that. So let me print off your review sheets. Don't do anything yet. And then I'll sign off of YouTube, answer their questions, and then I'll open it up for practice for you, okay? Do you find these review sheets helpful? All right, so, let me just get to the questions. Okay, got your scores, Joni. C Young, do you guys have recertifications from Michigan? No. In Michigan, you're going to need to go through a state-approved training program and then test. Contact your Board of Nursing or the CNA Registry for more information in Michigan. Hello, Mariah. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Erica. Okay. All right, Erica, I've got your scores as well. Thank you very much, Erica. Hi, Adeline. Hi, Lover's Third. Lover's Third test is in 8 days from now. I'm taking 5 skills per day. Well, we wish you great luck on the test. Good vibes out to you. You'll do great. And Erica asked, are we going to be practicing on Wednesday? Yes, today we've got almost an hour of practice time. Wednesday we'll have about an hour and 15 minutes practice time. So kind of plan accordingly. All right, guys. So YouTube people, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and catch us again on Wednesday at 9 a.m. for class. Again, Wednesday's class will be a little bit shorter on the live stream because I will open it up for practice. All right. So until next time, bye. Happy caregiving.